Chapter 17, page 111. The day following the scene at Caderousse's inn, a man in his early 30s, with both the appearance and the accent of an Englishman, presented himself before the mayor of Marseilles. "Monsieur," he said, "I am the head clerk of the firm of Thomson and French of Rome. For the past 10 years, we have been dealing with the firm of Morel & Son here in Marseilles. Our dealings with them now involve approximately 100,000 francs, and we are somewhat uneasy about this money, for we have heard reports that the firm is threatened with bankruptcy. I have come from Rome expressly to ask you for information on this matter." "Monsieur," replied the mayor, "I know that Monsieur Morel has been dogged by misfortune for the last 4 or 5 years. But although I myself am his creditor to the extent of 10,000 francs, I am not in a position to give you any information on the state of his finances. If you ask me my personal opinion of Monsieur Morel, I will tell you that he is an extremely honest man, who has so far met all his obligations with scrupulous exactitude. But that's all I can tell you. If you wish to know more, I suggest that you see Monsieur de Beauville, the inspector of prisons. I believe he has seen 200,000 francs invested in the firm. Since his investment is much greater than mine, if there is really anything to fear, you will no doubt find him better informed than I am." The Englishman took leave of the mayor, and, with that gait peculiar to the sons of Great Britain, went off to see the inspector of prisons. Monsieur de Beauville was in his office. The Englishman asked him the same question he had just asked the mayor. "Oh," cried Monsieur de Beauville, "your fears are unfortunately very well grounded, and you see a desperate man before you. I have 200,000 francs invested in Monsieur Morel's firm. That money was to be my daughter's dowry, and we intended to have the wedding 2 weeks from now. I was to receive 100,000 francs on the 15th of this month, and another 100,000 on the 15th of the next month. Then, less than an hour and a half ago, Monsieur Morel came here to tell me and told me that if his ship, the Pharaon, hasn't arrived by the 15th, it will be impossible for him to make his payment to me. I'm afraid it looks like bankruptcy." "You're quite worried about your investment, then?" "I consider it as good as lost." "Very well, I'll buy it from you." "At an enormous discount, I suppose." "No. For 200,000 francs. Our firm doesn't do business that way." "And how would you pay?" "Cash." The Englishman took out a roll of banknotes, which contained at least twice as much as the amount of Monsieur de Beauville's investment. A flash of joy passed over the latter's face, but he made an effort to control himself, and said, "I must warn you that in all probability you'll receive less than 6% of that sum." "That doesn't concern me," replied the Englishman. "It concerns the firm of Thomas and French, in whose name I am acting. It may be that they wish to hasten the ruin of a rival firm. All I know is that I am prepared to pay you the sum if you will sign a deed of assignment, but I must ask you for a commission." "Why, that's only fair," cried Monsieur de Beauville. "The commission is usually 1.5. Do you want 2, 3, 5, more than that?" "Monsieur," said the Englishman, laughing, "I am like my firm. I don't do business that way. No, my commission is quite different." "Tell me then, you're the inspector of prisons, aren't you?" "Yes." "And you keep a register with notes concerning prisoner?" "Yes, there is a record of each prisoner." "Good. I was raised in Rome by a poor priest who suddenly disappeared one day. I later learned he had been imprisoned in the Chateau d'If, and I'd like to learn the details of his death." "What was his name?" "The Abbé Faria." "Oh, I remember him quite well," said Monsieur de Beauville. "He was mad. He claimed to know the location of an immense fortune and offered fantastic sums to the government in exchange for his freedom. He died 5 or 6 months ago, last February. I remember the date because the poor fellow's death was accompanied by a very peculiar circumstance." "Might I know what the circumstance was?" asked the Englishman. Well, Faria's cell was about 50 feet away from that of a former Bonapartist agent, one of those who contributed most to the usurper's return in 1815. A very dangerous man. I saw him in his cell in 1816 or 1817, and he made a deep impression on me. I'll never forget his face. The Englishman smiled almost imperceptibly. It was that Dantes. Was that the dangerous Bonapartist's name? Asked the Englishman. Yes, Edmond Dantes. It seems that Dantes had either procured some tools or made them for an underground passage, was found between the cells of the two prisoners. I suppose the passage was made for the purpose of escaping? Precisely, but unfortunately, Faria was seized with a cataleptic fit and died. Dantes, however, still saw a way to escape, thinking, no doubt, that prisoners who died in the Chateau d'If were buried in an ordinary cemetery. He carried Faria's body into his own cell, placed himself in the sack in which the body had been sewn up, and waited for the burial. But the Chateau d'If has no cemetery. The bodies of dead prisoners are simply thrown into the sea with a cannonball tied to their feet. You can imagine Dante's surprise when he felt himself thrown from the top of the cliff. I wish I could have seen his face. That would have been difficult, remarked the Englishman. No matter, said Monsieur de Beauville, who was in a very good humor now that he was assured of recovering his 200,000 francs. I can imagine what it looked like, he burst out laughing. So can I, said the Englishman, who also began laughing, but in this reserved manner peculiar to the Englishman. Then he said, so the fugitive was drowned, was he? He certainly was. Very well. Now let's come back to the registers. Oh yes, excuse me, my story led me away from the subject. Come into my office and I'll show you the records. They both went into Monsieur de Beauville's office. Everything was in perfect order. The Englishman sat down in an armchair, and the inspector brought him the register and the folder concerning the Chateau d'If, inviting him to look through them as long as he liked, when he himself sat down in a corner and read a newspaper. The Englishman quickly found the records relating to Abe Faria, but the story told to him by Monsieur de Beauville had apparently interested him greatly. For after perusing these documents, he continued to leaf through the records until he came to those concerning Edmond Dantes. Everything was there: the letter of denunciation, the examination, Morel's petition, and Villefort's recommendations. He quietly folded the letter of denunciation and put it in his pocket. Then he read the examination, noted that the name of Noirtier was mentioned nowhere in it, and looked over Mr. Morel's petition dated April 10th, 1815, in which, since Napoleon was in power at that time, he exaggerated the services Dantes had rendered to the imperial cause. He now understood everything. During the Second Restoration, that petition had become a terrible weapon in Villefort's hands. He was therefore not surprised when he saw the following words besides Dantes' name in the register: Edmond Dantes, ardent Bonapartist, took active part in return from Elba, to be kept in solitary confinement and under careful watch. He compared these notes with a certificate attached to Morel's petition and saw that the handwriting was the same. They'd both been written by Villefort. Thank you, said the Englishman, closing the register. I have everything I need. And now it's my turn to keep my promise. Make out a deed of assignment, and I'll give you the money. Monsieur de Beauville hurriedly drew up the document while the Englishman counted out the banknote.